Alrighty, hello everyone. Happy Friday. Oh my goodness, it is hot in here today. Let me make sure I've got my fans turned up actually. My technique. Lord have mercy. Alright, as long as the neighbor kids don't start playing with their fucking, I don't even know what my neighbor kids have for toys. It feels like it's just like the Grinch Before Christmas over there. I feel like I'm in Whoville whenever I see the kids next door play, because they have every contraption known to man and they play with them all day, every day outside. And there's like 50 of them. Like it's like a kindergarten class amount of children. So we're going to tentatively keep the window open just to have it cool off in here a little bit. But hi, everyone. My makeup was melting all day in the heat. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I put on sunscreen and I was like, I'm done. That's all you're getting out of me today. It is, oh, has the dog arrived? I'm gonna go check. Bendita camera is not on because Bendita's not up here. She was hanging out, luxuriating in the warm weather outside in the grass, so I was letting her have that little moment. But hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. Hope everyone is gonna have a good weekend. It's gonna be hot here. The forecast originally was gonna be like 95 the whole weekend and then down into the 80s, which we're not prepared for around these parts. But now it's supposed to be just 90 or 92 instead of 95. So I will count my blessings in that regard. And there is absolutely no rain on the forecast for the next like 2 weeks. So wish us luck. Wish my technology luck, because that's honestly the real struggle, is just like being able to keep my technology operational. All right, so I guess it's funny. I gave myself a little bit of like extra buffer time for the start today, just because I was like, I had plans that were happening originally. I was spending the whole day cleaning the house, and I thought, I'm gonna lose track of time. Something's gonna happen. I might end up being like 5 minutes late, and we were like a minute and a half late. So I will count that one as a victory. The weather in the south has been so annoying. I have heard. I know, it's like when you're in Florida or something, it's like 95 degrees. You're like, oh, okay, like it's, houses are built for that. No, we like everything's carpet, everything's hardwood. No one has AC. We're not prepared for this. We don't have public outdoor pools. We don't like. There's like a river or probably lakes somewhere, I guess, but I don't know. They're not prepared for it. Oh, there is rain. There is rain in the forecast. Oh, for where you live, and you give it to me. Well, I will. Tuesday works for my schedule for rain. Yeah, absolutely. I will take that. Five minutes is very little buffer time for me. I feel like I normally, because I took it off because I don't like wearing it when I'm at my desk, but I have like a little, like, digital watch I've been wearing recently that I got to wear actually for a convention just to have a way to keep track of time. And it's actually, as it turns out, very useful for keeping track of steps and time and all sorts of things. So I like it for that. But I like bangs against my keyboard and I don't like it. So I don't wear it when I'm streaming usually. But also it can sync up to the weather, which honestly, if we just said hot and nothing else, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's about what I expected. I know, carpet in Florida. No, I'm saying that not that there's carpet in Florida, but that there's carpet and hardwood where I live. Whereas, like, in Florida, everything's, like, tile, usually. Like, there's carpet in bedrooms, but, like, normally, like, at least in the house I lived in Florida, like, you had linoleum, you had tile, you had something that didn't absorb heat as readily, at least. All right, so with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into just talking about what this stream is if you're new here. So hi, hello everyone. If you're new to these streams, my name's Evie Lupine and I am obviously a YouTuber and I talk about kink and BDSM and asexuality, and you all probably know that, but just in case you're new people, because I imagine that at some point somebody just finds this stream and goes, who the hell is this lady and why is she talking about the weather in Florida? Like, what is this? What's a bandit? I don't know. But anyways, I am here to answer all of your questions. This is an interactive Q&A. I usually put some potential subjects in the title of the live stream just to get us started, but it's really whatever you all want to talk about in regards to kink, BDSM, dating, going to events, polyamory, asexuality, queer issues, pop culture, news, the weather, anime, I don't care. Like, it can be whatever you want. I try my best to get to as many questions as possible, but I like to ramble. That's my normal style. I like to make sure I'm giving very complete answers. I will not sell myself short. And also, there are just a couple of things I don't really give advice on or talk about in these streams. So I don't give mostly medical and mental health advice. I also don't give advice on some certain like higher risk areas of kink that I don't really think you can learn how to do safely over the internet. So that would be things like how to draw blood, how to drink blood, breath play, choking, anything like that. I don't talk about how to do. One, because I don't really have the skill level to be able to teach you anyways, but also because it's YouTube, things are dicey. If people want to know about my current YouTube situation, I will happily rant about that for 10 minutes, but I will at least get past this part of the live stream first before I do that. So that's kind of the 401 on that. And I go in order of the chat. So if you ask early, and you get here early, you're going to have the best opportunity to get your question answered. And other than that, you can also use a super chat or streamlabs, which is linked down below. And either one of those will pop up with a message over here on the screen, and it'll be a nice little icon. I would like to get custom ones at some point, potentially, maybe. I would like to get ones maybe with Bandit or my face or something. I'm going to email people about that this weekend. It's on my to-do list. But have a nice little thing that pops up. It's very cute, and then it says your message for you, and it's very lovely. Actually, while I remember to do this, I'm going to have my headphones plugged in, so that way you guys can actually hear the donation messages when they play. Hopefully not ear-breakingly loudly, but we'll see. And that's a good way to make sure your question goes up to the top, and then I will answer it right away as soon as I'm done with the current question I am on. And it's a really fun, interactive time. We tend to have, I feel like we have, a really good-sized community. I feel like the best streams are, 100 to 200 active viewers. I feel like anything more than that, it gets a little unwieldy. Anything less than that, it's hard to have I think a really robust dialogue. So I'm really happy where we're at as far as a stream size, and I think we have a great opportunity for you all to interact and ask questions to each other as well, because I am the facilitator. I know a lot. I've taken a lot of time to educate myself, go to classes, conferences, and do demos and learn from other people and have my own practice and all of that. But I don't know everything about everything in kink. And so it's also great to have other people's perspectives. Like last night during the stream, I mentioned that, for example, I struggle to understand the framework for people that are really into kink because it's a taboo, right? That it's a naughty, bad thing that you shouldn't be doing, and that's what makes it alluring. And one of you all in the chat then was like, hey, this is why I'm into it. It's a blasphemy play thing, and yada yada. It was really good. So we also like to crowdsource information here, but just be kind and respectful. We do have mods in the chat that keep us all on track, more or less. And also 18 plus only. So there you go, 18 plus, and then please read the rules down below. Goes over everything. And if you do, I used to say this a lot more, but I feel like now that we have a more regular community, it doesn't really happen as much. It used to be every week I get the same 10 questions, but I just have at least a list of FAQs down below. So if you have questions that are more what books do you recommend, or how to tell my partner I want to try BDSM, or where do I buy a collar? Those are all linked down below if you want to know about that. Oh, thank you, Mr. Beansman. Oh, I have it muted.
Dollars.
There we go.
Hi, Evie. Having a lot of fun learning some rope stuff. Worried about being pressured to learn suspension, even though I know it's not in my risk profile.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Beansman says, hi, Evie, having a lot of fun learning some rope stuff, worried about being pressured to learn suspension, even though I know it's not in my risk profile. So perfect way to start off the chat. I love it. So I'm just going to screw this up here so you guys can like read the whole thing. So if you guys don't know what suspension is a form of bondage you can do where you lift somebody up in the air by rope. And it's very fun and also very high risk. And I find that within bondage-focused communities and circles, a lot of people treat that as the goal. And if you're more familiar with other types of BDSM, I would liken it to, I don't know, people that treat, oh, maybe like power exchange, or people treat like getting to a collar and being in like a collared 24/7 relationship as being the ideal, like perfect, everyone must go to do this. This is the reason why we do power exchange, is to get to a 24/7 total power exchange master slave thing. But in reality, anything along the spectrum from that all the way over to like occasionally in the bedroom, you know, just like with naughty words or something, all of that's like valid and normal. And it's not just you're working through the lower level stuff to get to the better, higher level stuff. And unfortunately, I do think, well, okay, I do want to give educators a positive benefit of the doubt here, which is I do feel like the reason why a lot of education is tailored towards suspension is because depending on how common suspension is in your public dungeons, like half to maybe the majority of people that are getting into rope bondage in particular are doing so because they eventually want to get to suspension. And so they're teaching skills in a way where it's like, oh, you're just learning this as like a stopgap until you can like get the skills to do this other thing. Or you're doing this because it builds this other thing. And like when you're not doing suspension and you're not taking on that level of risk, you can do a lot of other things that, you know, you don't have to make everything bomb proof is like what the phrase normally is. You don't have to work so hard to make everything as super tight and just layered in multiple levels of safety. Oh, thank you, Zidane. Oh, perfect. I'm starting out as a mommy dom. Do you have any starter advice for me, like how to work with praise kink and such? Thanks so much. Yes, I will definitely answer this one as soon as I'm done with the current question. Thank you so much. Okay, yes, so I will keep in mind. Okay, mommy dom, new, starter advice, work with praise kink. Oh, I have a little treat for you you're really gonna like. Okay, so stick around. Okay, so in terms of dealing with pressure and knowing that I guess the reason I'm talking about like what's normal is to give all of you a sense of like what's normal in bondage circles and my experience, but also so you know like, okay, this is like the communication around this is typically very much like when you get to suspension, this is blah, blah, blah. And I've been really frustrated, and many people I know in the community have been frustrated by this like fixation, maybe let's say, on suspension being the be-all end-all and the reason we do bondage. And I mean, I think as a, like, it's kind of interesting because I think there's sort of like, there's pressure from educators and like teachers, and there's pressure from like bottoms. And my favorite rope tops that I play with don't do suspension regularly. Or if they do them, they do like partials. They don't do like full up in the air for the most part. They could do. They have the skill and the knowledge to do it. They learned all of that stuff. But they have chosen not to because they found the fun and the joy in rope is not doing that. And because like when you're in suspension and it's so much to monitor, it's like you're fucking doing surgery. Like, it's like, is surgery fun? Like, it's sort of, probably for surgeons that like it, but like it's very technical and very focused and very detail oriented, and if you fuck anything up at any point, you're risking somebody's life. And so it can be very stressful, and it can actually take away from the emotional experience that a lot of people want to have. So I guess I would find maybe a way to have a quick phrase you can say if you're feeling pressured by somebody specifically, where just to remind them that like you're not doing this with like suspension as your goal, right? Like I might say something like, hey, thanks for the advice. I'm not really working towards suspension though. So you can like, if somebody's giving you good natured advice because they think you're trying to do something in order to be able to suspend someone, if that's not what your goal is, you can remind them, hey, that's like not my thing. That's thanks for the advice, but no thank you. Or I guess even just giving yourself reassurance, and maybe I will just validate you as well, because I like suspension. It's fun to do. I think I have had really good scenes that involve suspension, but my best scenes have not. Does that make sense? Like if my best scenes are either like floor work or partials maybe, where you're like even just like maybe using like a wooden post over here or part of a whatever over here to tie off to something to give a little bit of a sense of like you just have, I don't know, more space to work with. But actually going fully up in the air isn't the end all be all. And I'm a little bit privileged because I've had the ability to do that and try that. Oh, also, dog has arrived. Dog delivery. Dog delivery. Da, 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 ba-da-ba-da. Hi, sweetie girl. How are we? Oh, we're all warm and toasty from outside. Hi. Why did you get some water on your way upstairs, ma'am? Did you get some water? Okay, we gotta show everybody your little bow. We gotta show everybody the bow. All right, hello. And Dee Dee. She has a little bow in her hair because she went to the groomers. Oh, it's a big motorcycle outside, huh? It's a big motorcycle outside. Anything you want to say to the people? Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for the words of encouragement. You're my sweetie pie angel. Okay, I will get to the questions that we're on, and then I will get the bandit camera set up depending on where she decides she wants to lay down. Oh, goodness. You want to lay down, honey? Love you. Okay, so again, finding a key phrase, and then I will validate you by saying that I don't think suspension is the goal. I don't think it has to be the goal. I don't think suspension is better than anything else. I think it's more complicated. I think it's riskier, but it's definitely not better. It's definitely not the best thing there is to do in the world of BDSM. So it's okay. You don't have to work towards suspension. I believe in you. I think that you're, based on what you've told me about other parts of your kink journey, like you're totally on the right path. And as long as what you are doing is fun for you and your partners, that is the only thing that matters, right? I think maybe outside of being an exhibitionist or a voyeur, where like audience participation is sort of the reason you're doing the thing, outside of that, I think the reason why we should be doing kink is because it's fulfilling for us. It makes us happy. It makes us feel good. And it makes our relationships better. It makes the people we're in relationships with or dating or our friends or whoever it is we're playing with, that everyone involved is having like a happy, fun time, feeling fulfilled, whatever it is. I'm using like fun as like a shorthand for like the multitudinous reasons for why people enjoy kink. So just like, I'm not trying to say, oh, kink is fun, because I know sometimes you have fun by not having fun, and like it's a personality thing, necessarily like a whatever. Like, I'm aware of the nuances and the many reasons why people enjoy BDSM. I'm just giving shorthand right now. But it's totally okay to not want to do suspension. If you feel pressured, just find a gentle way to like tell people and communicate that you're not interested in that. And especially if you're dealing with bottoms that are like, hey, I really want to do suspension. Like, I want to play with you, but only if you do this. There's people like that. A lot of people only really want to do bondage because they like suspension, because it's very physically intense, or because it looks really cool. It makes them look good as a bottom, is very challenging, yada, yada, yada. So you're going to run into people where their primary reason for wanting to do rope with you is going to be if you can do suspension, and they're not going to be great play partners for you. So just feel empowered to stick up for your boundaries, and good luck. Yes, the lady who does her haircuts makes the bows, and she gets a new one every time, and I never know what it's going to be. Sometimes it's flowers, sometimes it's a bow. It's always so cute. Yeah, totally take a break. You are not obligated to be fixated on my stream chat for forever. Like, honestly, I think ever since I enabled like subscriber only mode, like we really haven't, and not to jinx anything, I feel like we haven't had any problems with like spam bots or anything in a long time, and I love that. Yeah, fulfilling for us. Perfect word. Yeah, fulfilling is it. Oh, Tears of the Kingdom. I did not ever play Breath of the Wild. So I've heard people say that Tears of the Kingdom is really good, but I haven't had any experience with it yet. I probably won't, honestly, because I'm on my screen so much for work as it is. Like, I try for my hobbies to not be screen related. Like, I like being outside, like going on walks, like gardening. I like baking. Like, I try to do things that aren't like staring at my computer all the time, because otherwise I would literally never leave this desk. But yeah, I hope people enjoy it. As a person trying to get into Bratting and season as a beginner rope bunny, how can I find free education on it? Audiobook wise. Oh, for rope bondage? I'll have to look. I have a couple of book recommendations that might have audiobook versions, but I'm not entirely confident on that. So I will look. So, okay. So if I remember correctly, we had a super chat that's from a new mommy dom. Congratulations. And you were trying to get some advice for that and also like praise kink. So I will say one thing just to start off with that, which is I did an interview yesterday with a really wonderful educator named Carter Brule, who teaches a class about something called affirmation play. And praise kink is sort of, affirmation play is sort of like this big umbrella of like different ways of affirming somebody during a scene emotionally, but praise kink is one derivative of that. It's like probably the most common and familiar way of doing affirmation play. It's a really good conversation. I'm not sure when it's going to be live here on YouTube, but it is going to be coming up on Patreon. Hopefully before the end of the month, I'll have a rough cut done for a preview for there. So if you want to listen to that, it'll be over there. It should be a really good conversation. We talk a lot about playing with emotions and how to get into doing that and like how to navigate boundaries and keep it in a safe, fun, positive place and what to do if it maybe ends up not being so positive. So lots of good information in there. Carter is a delight to talk to and listen to, and I hope that you all enjoy the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. So keep in mind that will be coming out. As far as being a new mommy dom and praise kink, I would say one of the things I've both thought about, but then was also affirmed in my conversation with Carter, is the importance of not, I like saying the phrase blowing your load, but I realize for non-asexual people that is like just too, that sounds too sexual. So like, when I think of when I say blowing the load, what I think of is a SpongeBob episode where they're lost in the woods and a fucking plane goes overhead and they go, we gotta drop the load. And then they unload everything in the back of their cargo plane all at once. I don't know if anyone else remembers that episode of SpongeBob, but I do. That's what I think of. But anyways, just to go slowly with it, I think, especially when you're playing with emotional kinks, by comparison to physical kinks, there's not really a lot of good examples of it. Like with physical kinks, it's very easy to go into a dungeon and observe from a distance somebody doing a flogging or paddling or spanking or tying somebody up with bondage or saran wrap or wax play. Like almost anything that's like a very physical thing is very easy to observe within a dungeon. So by comparison, it's a lot more difficult when it comes to emotional stuff because it's very difficult to hear the part of the scene from the outside where the dom leans in and goes, are you going to be a good girl for me? Like that part of the scene is not like the thing you're really going to be able to clue in on and see the dom or the top actually doing to be able to figure out, this is how I do it. This is how I'm supposed to sound. Like, what do I do? And when you're looking at media, even in there, like most of the media representations of kink, I would say possibly a good thing for you to watch is, okay, people remember the SpongeBob episode. Okay, yes, the conch, the magic conch, yes. Oh my gosh, so many references to SpongeBob. I loved SpongeBob as a kid. It was my favorite cartoon right next to the animated Batman series. Oh no, we didn't grow up with SpongeBob. It doesn't get your references. I feel that. I've had a lot of partners that are just like, they're older than me. And so they just like SpongeBob. They're like, I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. like they're like, not really sort of the same ballpark, I guess. Yeah, it's difficult. Anyways, so getting more back to the question of like, how do you learn this? How do you observe it? Like even in media, I think it's difficult to find examples of this, but one that I think might be good for you to watch if you like K-dramas or you like subtitled stuff. Actually, I think they probably have a dubbed version in English and it's still on Netflix. So there's a really nice, I'm not gonna say it's great because it's like the best of a not very broad category. So it's sort of like there were 3 competitors and you won first place, but is it really like how much of a victory is it really? But I would recommend a movie called Love and Leashes, which is on Netflix once again, and it's a really great example of a female dominant and a newer male submissive, and you do get to see a little bit of their like more emotional play. Like there are definitely parts of the movie that are very physically oriented, but I feel like even though it's visual, it does a very good job of demonstrating the emotional aspects of as well, and like how it feels to be in the moment and doing it. Like it's not perfectly realistic. Like the flogging scene is not like a real flogging at all, but a lot of the play that they do is like fairly realistic and it feels very real. So if you haven't watched that before and you're newer and you want maybe a good female dominant representation, she's not really a mommy dom per se, but I think she is a good like female dominant figure to look to if you want to like figure out how to talk and act during a scene a little bit. But with praise kink again, like don't go into it like too hard, too fast. I think with humiliation play and with anything involving like name calling or embarrassment, people like I tend to be very quiet when I talk. Like I'm not really that much of a talker. And I think part of the reason why I'm not is because I feel like when I'm doing a scene, the connection is more emotional. But like when you're talking, it's like very hard to grade it in a way where it's like the emotional content verbally is not peaking before the physical, right? Like they should kind of go together in terms of intensity, right? Like when you see people that are trying to impersonate being a dominant maybe, or in a vanilla piece of media where they're using it as the butt of a joke or something, like it's always a fucking dominatrix wearing 10-inch shiny black platform heels and a corset, like just screaming obscenities and going, get on the floor, you worthless worm, I'm gonna lick my boots, blah blah blah. And it's like it doesn't really work if you start there. Like what makes that like like it's like if you're just walking down the street and somebody calls you a bitch, like you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like where'd that come from out of nowhere? And when you're in a scene and you're right there at the beginning in the first like 10 minutes and you're trying to get in the mode and in the zone and you're just letting all of the big words fly right away, it's gonna be like, okay, what's going on here? Like I'm not, like you're not in the space yet. You gotta leave room for the space to develop and like slowly start trickling it in. And also taking your time at the beginning of the scene will help clue you in more about like what you should do for praise kink, like what your partner is in the mood for right now. What do they need to hear? What do they not want to hear? What wouldn't be helpful for them right now? Like I actually have a video where I've talked about praise kink before, and I think Pup Amp does too from What's the Safe Word. So if you haven't seen those yet, also do watch those. But you can calibrate it off of like what your partner needs in that moment, right? Like they might want affirmation about their physical attractiveness or their intelligence or their aptitude at work or their ability to take care of the house or how much they please you or how, I don't know, like anything could be skills based, it could be achievement based, it could be a personality thing, it could be an attractiveness thing or like a physical appearance thing. And you can use the beginning of the scene to kind of clue in, okay, this is where my partner is at. This is maybe what they want to hear. And then, like, use phrases and questions to get your partner during the beginning of the scene to give you that information. Ideally, you would talk about it during a negotiation up front of, like, hey, I want to do a scene together. I'm really feeling like I want to do a praise kink scene with you. Does that sound good? Do you feel more like you want this, this, or this? Or how about this, this, this? Like, what do I stay away from? And you would kind of get the rough approximation of what you want to do during the negotiation. But if you don't have that, didn't do that, it was a long time ago, it was last week, it could be totally different. During the scene itself, that's a good time to ask kind of like in character questions as like the mommy of like how's my little one feeling today? Or how are you doing? Or like just like whatever. Because also like being a mommy dom can mean so many different things. That can mean like soft, sweet caretaker. That can mean tiger mom. That can mean 1950s like homemaker with an apron. Like could mean like a career woman that like has infinitely high expectations of her children and is impossible to please. Like being a mommy dom can mean so many different things. All right, I don't know. It sounds like one of my neighbors might peace. Why would you start mowing the lawn at 6:30 on a Friday? I don't think they are actually, so I'm going to not close the window yet. No. For questions, ask whatever you feel like asking about. It's very open-ended. I just put some ideas in the title to give people prompts to work with if they don't know what to ask about or feel like they need to be encouraged to ask certain questions if they're nervous about bringing up a certain topic. I try to make sure to put it in the title if I feel like I'm going to be something people would be nervous about. But ask about whatever. Go for it. So, I think without maybe knowing more specifics about your dynamic or what you're trying to get out of being a mommy dom, this is like a power exchange thing, a scene thing. I think that's sort of the general advice I want to give, but please let me know. I'll keep an eye out for any follow-up messages just in case I see one from you in terms of like if you need more help with like specifics like within a power exchange dynamic or like a particular scene or something about your partner, like my partner has self-esteem issues or they had a bad previous dom or I'm brand new to BDSM but they have 10 years of experience. Like, yeah, if I can get it a little bit tailored down, that would be great. Mowing the lawn at 6:30, maybe your neighbors have a daddy kink. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I just feel like they're trying to get it over with because it's going to be really hot this weekend. I'm like, I didn't mow the lawn yet. It's going to be 90 degrees tomorrow. Fuck that. I'm going to mow the lawn right now. That's what I think is probably happening. Although given it's apparently 85 currently, so it's still pretty hot outside. I don't know why. It was like, I'm going to open the window because it's going to be cooler. Clearly not, but I do like having the window open. Just have a little bit of a breeze there. Oh, thank you so much for helping me out. I truly appreciate you. Well, thank you so much. And again, let me know if you have any follow-up questions. I will keep an eye out on them. Okay, so let's get into some more questions. Hey, no worries. No worries. Good luck on your flight tomorrow. What would you say is the psychology of a little brat? A little slash brat. Okay. In a scene, is it to feel comfort, attachment, connection, or a sense of bonding? Okay. So I'm going to assume, because it is the most common way of doing this, you mean somebody who is both a little and a brat, not a little and a brat in a scene together, which could also definitely happen. Because littles and littles also do scenes together. It's not just always littles and bigs or littles and mommies or daddies. I would say if I had to make a sweeping generalization, the main theme I have seen with most people who are brats in particular, not necessarily littles, but brats, is they want to be able to test boundaries and be reassured their partner is still there and still cares about them and is still choosing to invest in the relationship. It's a way of saying, hey, I know I can push at this, and you are strong enough, smart enough, powerful enough, yada yada, to be able to enforce the rules. Remind me of the rules, and that gives me reassurance that you are powerful enough to control me, that you deserve my submission, that you remember what the rules are, you are continuing to invest in this relationship, and that you care about me enough to enforce those rules, but also not abandon me. Okay, so from UG Day, so I'm a baby girl. How would one go about getting my caregiver to express himself as a daddy more? 24/7 dynamic, service sub, soft, daddy. Okay, so to clarify, you're the service sub, I assume. He's not a switch. That could also be a thing. I've heard of that before. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I will... Okay, baby girl, want your CG to be more of a daddy, 24/7 dynamic, you're a service sub, and also he's a soft daddy. Okay, sweet. I'll keep that in mind. I feel like I was on a good roll with the last question. I want to make sure I get all my thoughts with that one. So I'm going to look back. Yeah, so with brats, I feel like part of what they enjoy about it is that like reassurance of like the relationship being there and being affirmed. I think whether or not it's about comfort, I feel like any of that could be true. Comfort, attachment, connection. I think a lot of it is like probably attachment focused, at least from my perspective. I think it tends to go back to like reassurance of attachment and feeling like your partner's there. They're not abandoning you because you're bad or you act out or you did something wrong, and that they are ultimately still your caretaker and care about you and care for you, even though you sometimes misbehave or forget rules or act out. And again, it's like if I had to make a broad sweeping statement about it, that is what I would say. But I don't think that's true for all brats who are also littles. I think that is what is most common, but it's definitely not the only way. So if you're a brat and a little and you're wondering about like, hey, that doesn't really describe me, please let me know in a comment either down below if you're watching this later or in a chat. Let me know if you feel differently about like your bratting is like motivated from a different place. I've made lots of videos where I talk about brats. I've never had anyone say in a comment that like, you got brats totally wrong. I'm a brat. That's totally not what we want at all. It's all about this. Like usually people are fairly happy with that definition, but if there's other ways of thinking about it, please let me know. Okay, so let's get to the baby girl question. The big baby girl question. What do I have? What is this shopping tab? What is... Okay. I apparently do not have this feature on YouTube videos, but apparently within YouTube, within live streams, I can display products on my live stream. What is that? What is this capitalist hellscape of YouTube? What would that even look like? Okay, whatever. I'm not going to think about that. I'm just like, wait, what is that? Shopping? Where this is not QVC. Though that would be funny. Also, a reminder to stay hydrated. Anywhere you live, but especially if you are here in the northern hemisphere, it is summer, it is getting hot outside. The UV index is saying roasty toasty. Get that water. That is me being your soft EV dom. No, don't make that a thing, please. I'm making a joke. That's it. Okay, so I'm a baby girl. How would one go about getting my caregiver to express himself as a daddy more? 24/7 dynamic, server sub, soft daddy, thanks. So my general recommendation with any relationship, power exchange or otherwise, I guess we could sort of think about it in like a political science lens of like soft power and hard power. Like, I always recommend going for the hard power first, which is a direct conversation. I know that makes a lot of people nervous. A lot of people don't know how to communicate their needs very well, and a partner doesn't necessarily know how to receive that information very well. So your mileage will vary, but I think if you are feeling like you want your partner to express themselves as a daddy more, and I'm going to start from a place of assuming he doesn't know you want that yet. But if he does want that, well, that'll be part 2 of my answer. So first things first, you have to communicate that that's what you want and that you'd like to encourage him to do that more. So if you want to do something like this within your dynamic, you could say something like, I don't really know. What's a general, like, caregiver, I've been thinking about our relationship and it's so wonderful and so fulfilling. I love getting to play with you and be around you. I really enjoy it, especially when I get time to be with you and you're being my daddy in particular. Is there a way that we could do that more? Like, open it up as a question, as something that you're not saying like, if you can't be my daddy more, I'm gonna leave you. Like, have it be something where you're pointing out, hey, this is a thing we're doing. Our relationship is already positive. This makes it even more positive. How can we do that more? Can we do that more? Because your partner could say anything along the spectrum, if they don't know you want this, I'm assuming. Anything along the spectrum from like, I'm not comfortable being a daddy more than I am. I have some hang-ups around that, and I don't really know if I want to do it more than I'm already doing. I'm trying to work through that. All the way over to like, oh my gosh, I also want to be a daddy more. I have all these ideas. Go ahead and go do it. Like, it could be super simple if you, like, it could be so simple. If you just open up the conversation, you never know what the answer is going to be. And oftentimes, you're going to be surprised. And again, like, I think being brave and being open and honest is so important in kink relationships, because if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. If you don't ask for what you want or say what you want, it's not going to happen. So, hard power, direct conversations, but not in a, like, blunt business negotiation where you're playing hardball with somebody and you're trying to get them to capitulate to your wants. Like, this isn't like you're not trying to bully somebody into doing something. You're just trying to be very direct, so that way you don't have any misunderstandings, or you think you communicated something that should have been obvious but really it wasn't because you were trying to play around with it, you know. Yeah. So I'm going to assume that if you haven't done that yet, you're going to do it. And for the second part, I will say, I want to assume you have done that, or you've done something similar to that where it's known in a general way that you would like it for him to be a daddy more than he already is. And you're trying to work through how to make that happen. And the origin for why it's not happening as much could be a couple of things, right? It could be something within him, right? It could be guilt or shame. It could be not knowing what to do for scenes. It could be lack of confidence. It could be confusion about why you want him to be in that role so much. What does it mean about him for him to be a daddy? Like, it could be working on that, like, interpersonally with you or interpersonally within himself. So might have to work on some things with that mentally and emotionally first. It could also be simply that he thinks he's doing that and maybe isn't doing it the way that you want him to be doing it, and you need to have some clarity around, like, oh no, when I say daddy, this is what I mean. So I think if you want your partner to do a certain thing more, and this goes for any sort of thing, right? Could be being a daddy, being a mommy, being little, being a pet, what doesn't matter what side of the slash, what thing you're doing. I think if you want your partner to do something more, it probably means there's something you need that's going, hey, I want this thing to happen. I am picturing in my head, when I picture getting to have daddy time, I'm thinking about coloring books, watching cartoons together, doing something with an easy bake oven, going to Build-A-Bear workshop, going for a walk in the park, getting to play dress up with him. Whatever it is, it could be an age play thing, a non-age play thing, it could be whatever. But have a list of things prepared in your head and think about what they are. And then maybe if you want to, if it's helpful, even like write it down as a list. A lot of people, and again, your mileage will vary. Some people will find this like too direct and like, you're the submissive, you shouldn't be doing things like this. But I think it's really helpful. Especially if your partner is anywhere on the neurodivergent spectrum of flavors. It is very probable that it'll be helpful to have a list. So I might even write something out where, like, you could write it in crayon if you want to. You could make it something that's, again, reinforcing your relationship, reinforcing your dynamic in his place as the caregiver. You could write it out in crayon or in like a kid's, like, you know, notebook or composition notebook, like a school notebook, or you could type it up on Google Docs or send it in a text message. Does it really matter? I think probably a text would be my least favorite way of doing this, but if you have some way of writing it down, I would write something like, dear caregiver, your little one has been enjoying her time in the relationship so very much. And I especially love it when you get to be my daddy. Here's a list of some of the ways, like, write it the way that, like, a kindergartner or whatever, like, if you age play that way, or if you're, like, role play for, like, being a daddy, a baby girl is, like, in that age range or realm. But, like, you know, I think it would be really great if you could be my daddy even more. It would make me so happy. Here are some ideas I've written out, and I'm going to take finger pecking as though, like, when you're typing this, you're going to be finger pecking. Here are some ways I've thought of to help you be my daddy even more. I would really like it if we could, and then you get into the list of, like, activity ideas that you have together. So that way, your partner's reassured that they know what you want. They have some ideas to work with, and they have, like, affirmation of, like, the fact that you enjoy the relationship. So I would look at that as maybe a good possibility to go with. And the other reason why I like this is, if you've never been a dom or never topped, it's hard to fully get this, but if you are a conscious, ethical person, you want to make sure your partner is enjoying what you're doing, it can feel very difficult to pick what to do for a scene, because you're like, wait, do they want that? Do they like that? I don't know. Like, you're both expected to know what somebody wants, but then also not ask, because asking would spoil what your plans are. And so you're stuck in this, like, you're guessing, but you're second guessing yourself because you don't really know for sure. And then you get into like this option paralysis of like, well, I can't, like, I'm just going to stick with what I know works because I don't want to hurt them or make them offended or violate a limit or like whatever. So, or a PowerPoint. Yeah, you could do a PowerPoint. That's a great idea. Love that. My sir and I have a date night once a month where we go out and check in on our dynamic outside of our normal lives. It makes it something to look forward to versus something to dread. Yeah, like having a positive date night. Like if you guys don't have that already, like it would be good to set it up for sure. I type out conversations I need to have with my master/daddy in a journal on my phone, and then I can work through what I want to get across before we sit down to talk. It helps a lot. Yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Such a cute idea. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully it'll give them some ideas. And because you're a service sub, I don't know. It could be things like, you know, like you're like loading the dishwasher, but he's helping you like learn how to load the dishwasher, or you like pack his bag for work and you leave him like a cute little note like from his baby girl, or put it in his lunchbox. Yeah, and if I'm nervous, he's let me read it to him. Yeah. Yeah, my steal it idea. Yeah. Steal all of the ideas. Well, if they're not my ideas, don't steal them, but. So, I think, yeah, like if you're a service sub, like definitely include ways that like maybe if you want to combine your baby girl-ness and the daddiness with being a service sub, there are plenty of ways to do that, you know. I don't think there's anything else that's like a key thing for like expressing himself as a daddy more. And again, I do want to say, like, just make sure it's like an open conversation. Like, I think having something like the crayon writing and like writing a cute list is a really good way to do it. But definitely make it very clear that like it's not an obligation. This is not an ultimatum for the relationship, that he gets to decide for himself if he wants to do this or not. But you're just letting him know what your preferences are. Because a lot of doms, especially ones that are like more on the soft, gentle side that are more like people pleasers, it's very hard for them sometimes to say no to their baby girl and have their own boundaries, what they're comfortable with. But also it could just be as simple as like, they don't really know how to get into a daddy headspace yet. They're not really sure what that looks like for them. Maybe he needs help picking out like a daddy outfit, or maybe he like doesn't really like the word daddy, but might like papa or something, or what are some other like other like I don't know, just father just would be very formal. No, like your partner may enjoy other terms more, or need help with like maybe an outfit that puts them in the headspace more, or certain activities. It could just be they're finding themselves in their daddy domness and they're not there yet, but it is a process. Yes, for me and my daddy, we have scheduled chores for baby to scratch my service sub itch while keeping the DDOG dynamic going. Yes, that is a good way of doing it. Yeah, scheduled chores. Yeah, exactly. Because like even most people, you know, if you're in a really like fancy household, maybe you didn't do chores, but most people have household things they help out with, even when they're young, right? That could be cleaning your own bathroom, making your bed, you know, packing your own lunch for the next day, picking out your own work outfits, taking care of the laundry on the weekends. You know, there's other, depending again, kind of what age range you're in, mental wise, like there's tons of ways to do it. Like even when I was like little, I was helping fold laundry or load a dishwasher, or like, I don't know how helpful I actually was, but I was, you know, it was in the spirit of helping. Yeah. Petition to make he, him, mommies a thing. I mean, it's honestly a matter of time, really, because we already have he, him lesbians that are daddies. So really, he, him, mommy's got to be on the horizon, you know? He's serving mommy. I can't wait for it. Yeah, he's serving mommy and she's serving daddy. It's coming. It's happening. I think it was a lack of ideas for scenes and how, but he's reluctant to research and look into it for fear of being swayed and influenced too much. He gets in his head a lot. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, like, not all influence is bad. I guess, like, we're all influenced, and he already has influences, even if he doesn't consciously realize he's being influenced. And, like, he's not going to get hypnotized, right? So, like, I on the one hand, I respect, like, wanting to kind of do it your own way, but I find a lot of male doms have this approach of like, they're so, yes, you don't want to have your whole dom identity formed by somebody else. and just do something because somebody else said it was a good idea to do. At the same time, though, like, you're gonna miss out on a lot of ideas if you don't ever look at anything. And not because you're not smart enough to know it on your own, or not because you're not a good enough daddy or a real enough daddy, but just because there are so many freaking ways to do BDSM that you're gonna have blind spots. Like, I have a negotiation checklist that I've done, and like a yes, no, maybe list that I've done. And my yes, no, maybe list is like 8 pages long. There's like 200 plus different kink activities in there. And even then, I still like combined a lot of things into sort of, pigeonholed, shoehorned in categories. And I know that I missed like kind of a lot of key things for a lot of folks in that list. So there are so many different ideas for kink that, like, yeah, if you're going to miss out on ideas, and it's not like a fault just by yourself if you can't think of them on your own. But maybe if you're the one who's proposing the ideas and you're kind of the intermediary between the research and his brain, that'll be a more positive thing. But there's tons of ideas out there. I can't, like, there's not any media or anything I can really recommend to you unless somebody in the audience has a good idea for this, of like a representation of a daddy dom to get ideas from in media. But I mean, I have so many videos now where I've talked about like different types of daddies and different types of scenes you can do, and lots of different ideas for like DDLG and like littles and like theme scenes. Like, it could be, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I'm working on a spreadsheet like that, and it's so much. There are truly a lot. Yeah. My contract is more of a verbal thing with my owner than it is a written list of rules. Is this common or more rare? I don't know, actually. I think the ideal is to have it written down, but I'm not sure in reality how many people actually have a written down like contract. I think most people probably start verbal and then move to a contract, or vice versa. But I don't know what the actual percentage will work out to be. Yeah, so many ideas for different kink scenes. Like, even just within doing DDLG type stuff. I already gave a bunch of ideas earlier, but like, it could be as simple as like, going out to like one of those like, drive up diner themed restaurants and sharing a milkshake together. Like, that might be something that feels sort of like little-y to you because it reminds you of something from your childhood. Like, it could be super simple. And I think, and maybe also if he doesn't really do a lot of his own research, it's very easy to get in your own head, and maybe I will relay this to you and you can find a way to communicate it to him if he's not like watching right now, I assume. A lot of dominants and tops get very in their head, and this is, I think, why people rush quickly in scenes to get to like full throttle, like physically and emotionally, and like what they're saying during a scene, is they get very nervous about like doing enough and doing enough interesting stuff. And they get this idea that scenes are typically this really high production value, costuming, 3 hours long, carefully choreographed and planned experience, where if you do anything less than that, it's not satisfying. And doing scenes like that, where you put a lot of months of prep work in, finding costume pieces or obscure furniture pieces or unique gear just for that scene, whatever it is, those are fun. But most scenes are not like that. Most scenes are not this like very big production, super long, intense, pre-planned out thing. I would say the majority of real scenes that I've done are much more like, hey, you want to do something tomorrow? Yeah, sure, why not? Like, they're much more like casual, like, hey, this sounds like a fun idea to do, and then we'll take that one core idea and build off of it either during a negotiation, or we won't, and it'll just be the one thing during a scene, and that's perfectly fine, right? Whether it be wax play or flogging or bondage or something, like, just having one key element in a scene is fine, and it doesn't have to be this like really big overdone thing. So maybe find a way to tell him and communicate that, like, you don't expect him to have these really big, complicated scenes, that you just enjoy spending time with him, getting to be with him as his baby girl and him being the daddy. And it can be something super simple. It can be something really complicated. You'd love to watch cartoons together, or have him brush your hair, or get your nails painted, or, you know, make pancakes in the morning, or like, you know, and that counts. That's good enough, right? It's about just having that emotional connection, and whether or not that emotional connection goes along with some really big highfalutin thing is completely immaterial, or less material than maybe it seems. Because like, if I'll be clear, there are definitely people for whom the important part of a scene is the visual aspect, is the costuming, the role play, and they need to have a scene where there is that level of production going into it, because that is the scene for them. Like, the flogging or the spanking or whatever else is the accessory. The main thing is the role play and the costuming. So just to say that real quick, it's not everyone, but I think a lot of people get into kink thinking it's like this very high production value intense thing, when it's really not. Most of the time anyways. Thank you so much for your input. You're such a staple in my kink journey. Haha. Well, you're so welcome. I hope it goes well. And I would love it. Anyways, anytime anyone asks a question, I always like getting a follow-up if it like worked later. So if you want to come back and be like, hey, it worked, or it didn't, or here's the new thing we want to have help with, like, feel free to come back next week or next month or whatever and check in. Let me know how it went. Love a good follow-up question. And yes, we are here in almost the second hour of the live stream already somehow. I feel like we're chugging along though. We are chugging along. That's not the phrase. Chucking? That's not it. That's not a thing people say. All right, I'm gonna have a bite of a protein bar before it gets completely melty over my desk. Riveting ASMR content. Alright, where's my dog? I'm gonna try to put my dog on the camera. Alright. We'll see if that works. Oh, that was easy. I always think it's gonna be more complicated than it really is. Alright, I gotta like... It's not at all in the position it should be in though for primo doggo viewing. not like a woodchuck chucking one. Oh, that's probably the phrase I mix it up with. I do that all the time. I just want to make quirks. This is my main character quirk, guys. She's so quirky. She always like gets phrases wrong. Me and my main character syndrome, for real. I feel like I'm like a shark. Zooming in on Vanda right now. She's so cute. My little fluffy pupperino. Oh, good. A while ago, I asked a question about my ace partner and giving them affection. They feel a lot more love nowadays since I've been giving them lots of affection non-sexually. Yay! Round of applause. We love it. Protein bar kink is sadly underrepresented. I mean, I feel like I do have a video about exercise, like fitness kinks, so... I'm discovering kink as a means to discovery, healing, fun, and reinvention. Beautiful. Alright. I'm literally 5 minutes in the chat with the questions. thank you for liking the stream. We appreciate it. Love it. If you want me, you can join me in the High Sierras. It's gonna be nice and cool next week. I don't know. I don't really have a way to get to the High Sierras, but I do like the idea. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, tomorrow I might be like a shopping errand day, just so I can be in like air-conditioned stores. I don't know. My gym technically has a pool at it, but it's been broken, so I can't actually use it. We'll see. I don't know. I'll find a way to cool off. At the very least, I can always take a cold bath, which is the S tier way of dealing with this problem. Oh, is that like a thing? My cleaning schedule is the acronym biblical for each weekday. That stands for bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchen, living room, and everything else. Is it like an actual thing? I love that. Because for me, I'm basically like an every other day kitchen cleaner, and then probably like a weekly cleaner for everything else. Like all the other rooms combined. Interesting. Interesting. I have to look into that. It sounds like a good way of doing it. Like, especially if you're like deep cleaning each thing, like you're vacuuming and dusting and deodorizing and cleaning all the linens and all of that. Like that can take a long time. Absolutely. I am from the good old USA. People are funny. Like, what do you think? What does my accent tell you? Do I sound like a Canadian? I don't even know how to sound like a Canadian. Do Canadians actually have accents? I don't think they do. Oh, we made it up on our own? Oh, okay. It's nice to break up the day. Yeah, no, or break it up by the day. Yeah. Yes, please do not spam the chat with repeated questions. I try my best to get to everything, but if you repeat the same question over and over again and I see that, I will just get annoyed, and I will not reward your bratty behavior with my attention, so you will just get ignored. So please be patient. I cannot get to everything every stream, but I do try to get to at least the unique, interesting questions. No, the Bandita camera was not on because she was not here. And then I was stuck into answering a couple questions. Okay, dang it. I fast forwarded too much and I definitely missed some questions I was about to answer. So if you asked a question at the very beginning of the stream and I haven't gotten to it yet, please repeat it, because the chat only lets me go back so far, and then after a while it'll just like boot me to the top of the chat, and then I'll miss like a bunch of questions. We have SusCon in Dallas. When you said suspension, I thought you meant meditation with the hooks. Oh, no. Yeah. Like hook suspensions or hook pulls. Yeah, separate thing. Usually in the kink scene, I've heard them called hook pulls because it helps differentiate. Like, they're very different experiences in terms of risk level. I hope to do this one day. I know a lot of people that have had very positive times with, like, hook pulls. They really, really like it. It's not my thing. I don't think I'd be, like, seeing it visually freaks me out, and I'm kind of happy with the amount of brain chemicals I get from just, like, regular kink. So I'm going to stick with that. But I think it's the good thing for a lot of people. And good that it's done in, like, a facilitated way, you know? Yeah, what's better is what's best for you and your partners. Absolutely. Pretty much with anything. That comment doesn't even have to be connected to anything in particular. It's just a general, like, good, true statement. Okay. Do you have any advice for getting over good terms breakups? My partner just broke up our relationship. I'm sorry, but want to remain friends. It doesn't feel as bad as I expected, but it still sucks. Well, Johnny Prince Charlie, I'm very sorry. I know that it's difficult to go through a breakup, and it is sometimes worse in a certain way when it's not like a bad breakup. Because when it's a bad breakup, you can go, they're horrible, they're awful, I hate them, they were the worst, I can't believe they did that to me, blah, blah, blah. And you can, like, lean on your friends, and then go, yeah, they do suck, we never liked them, they were the worst. And, like, you can have that kind of, like, temporary, like, shit talking, bad breakup thing if you like doing that or you want that. But when you're still friends, it's like, what's going on? Like, I know from, actually, before I was even in the kink scene, I would have breakups where we found out that we just didn't want the same things out of a relationship and we weren't going to be compatible, but we did still want to be friends. And it did really suck. And I remember this one breakup that I had where somebody that, like, I was, like, really into them, or really liked them, and they just were, like, very focused on school and their career, and they just, like, couldn't prioritize the relationship. And I remember after we broke up, even though it was, like, on good terms. Oh, thank you, Sid.
Donated
$10.
Thank you. Love your channel.
Thank you, Sid. And we were like on good terms. We both like agreed, like, yeah, we don't really want the same things. But I remember after that breakup, like, every day that we didn't talk was very difficult, even though presumably we had said we wanted to be friends at the beginning of doing the breakup. And it was like, because it was like, it wasn't that we couldn't get along or anything. It just was, we didn't want the same things out of a relationship. And even though it did really, really suck, I honestly think if you do want to be able to transition to a friends-based relationship, it is probably a good idea. I'm not going to tell you you have to do this, but I think it's probably a good idea to... Oh, my water bottle's rolling in the way of the screen. It's probably a good idea to not be in daily, constant contact, because I think it's important to have, like, a clean break from the relationship itself. Like, once you've gotten through working out the details of the breakup, like, if you have things you have to go get from the other person's place, or you want to talk about, like, telling your mutual friends, or if you go to the same place for certain things, like you work out at the same gym, or you work at the same office or something, I don't know. Figuring out what that looks like and how to tell people and navigate that. Like, once you've worked out the details of it, I feel like it is a good idea to take a break and then come back together and, like, reconnect afterwards after a pre-planned period of time. Would you have ever taught a class at a convention before? What convention or event would you like to teach a class at? What class? Yes, I've planned to teach at a convention before, but it was right before COVID hit and then everything got canceled. I am pretty much open to teach at whatever kind of BDSM or kink event, even actually at, like, a more mainstream, like, sex ed convention or, like, sex positive convention. I would totally teach at. I actually have a list of classes that I have stuff for. I have an aftercare class I've recently developed. I have classes about, like, pain play for people that aren't masochists, power exchange, BDSM 101, like, kind of like my best hits of, like, YouTube content, and then some things I haven't ever covered in YouTube videos before. Yeah. Also, don't let the idea of being friends pressure you into not taking the time and speaking to process. Yes. So that's what I'm trying to communicate is, like, even during a good breakup, like, you're going to have lots of feelings and emotions, and it's difficult to fully process all of them when you're still talking to the person and you're getting, like, new stimulus from them all the time. So it's good to have time by yourself to, like, relax, unwind, focus on other things. The thing that always helps me is, like, I have my beautiful, adorable, cutesy little dog that helps me feel better about everything. But I'm assuming that you don't have that. Or if you have a pet, lean on them for sure. Hang out with your other friends. Go back to maybe connections or friendships that when you were in that relationship, you didn't have as much time for. They could be family connections, other friends, hobby groups. It could be going back to your hobbies in general, reading books, playing games, joining a sports league, a knitting group, whatever, an orienteering group, doing hikes or something. Like, find activities that don't remind you of the person or were not part of your dating life. So, like, if you guys had a video game you played together every single weekend, probably don't play that video game during your breakup. At least not initially. So I recommend like having a hobby, like having other human connections and reinvesting in those. That could be going to a munch, also going to play parties. I think sometimes that can be difficult post breakup because you're seeing other people and you're presuming they're having these like happy, healthy, amazing relationships that you're not currently having. And it's really sometimes difficult to not have those feelings of envy pop up of like, they're so lucky. They get to have this beautiful scene together. Why don't I have that? Why can't I have a relationship like that? And there's like a spiraling. So avoid the spiraling and just have like space and time to practice. Yeah. Practice being single. Yeah, thanks for the advice. We have planned on 2 weeks of no contact and then no meeting up until after the end of the month. That is great. I love that. Perfect. I'm so glad you have that already in place. Yeah, I think, again, hobbies, interests, finding other ways to like focus your time. Because I think, you know, from my experience with bad breakups, even when they're friendly, is it's like it's easy to start ruminating on the relationship and the person and like what you could have done differently, how it went wrong, and the less time you have to do that and like a brain running away from you, kind of just doing its own thing, you know, space with also having time to like consciously, intentionally process and work through it. I think that's really good. Also, we are ruling out any further romantic or kink sexual stuff until after she has recovered from her bottom surgery. Oh, yeah, totally fair. Yeah. It is a wrong time thing as she's also transitioning from med school to working. Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of stuff going on at once for sure. Yep. Personal growth / giving yourself love and attention is how I cope. Yeah. I know a lot of people will kind of just go like, oh, self-care. And like, I feel like I can't just like say that because the concept of self-care is so warped by the modern idea of like what it is. Like it got like, it was a thing. It was an actual thing for like 6 months. And then it got turned into like a buying skincare like pitch. Like it changed from, oh yeah, like take time to do what you need, prioritize yourself, you know, do things like make sure you're drinking enough water or getting enough sleep or like making time to meditate and like do things that might be hard but are also necessary, like, you know, having healthy food in the house. Like don't just order takeout every night because you're going through a breakup. Like prioritize your well-being and health, including things that maybe feel difficult, where it got turned into like buying expensive bath bombs and like skincare products. like not really. Like yes, like reconnect with people. Yeah, because it's like a way of reminding yourself that you have other people in relationships that have potential to be wonderful. Absolutely. I feel like 6 months is probably a good amount of time for like reevaluating whether or not you want to do further kink, romantic, sexual stuff. Because this is something I've discovered from like kink breakups and kink relationships is oftentimes after you've been out of that relationship for a while, I think initially for maybe, depending on how long the relationship was to start with, especially if it was like a longer term relationship, you might have like 3 months, 6 months where you're like, I really miss this person. I miss our relationship. I want something just like that again. I wish I could have that power exchange again, that role play again, this whatever vibe you had in the relationship again. Whereas after you've had some time to really sit and process on your own about what you want from a relationship, independent of somebody else. And I would think about this, though, it's like, this is cheesy to say, but I think it's at least partially true, is you can think about it like a gift of you have this time of self-discovery to really know what you want now that you've had this certain experience. Oh my God, you guys see my dog just do the little like, she did a little like stretchy thing that she does. It's so cute. But yeah, like having time to think about who you are just by yourself on your own and like what you want out of kink sans somebody else like influencing you, but not like, I'm not saying that in like they're like a secret spy trying to get you to do something you don't want to do. Like it's not like that. It's just you are getting time to evaluate the new person that you are now that you've had this journey and had information and experiences based on that. Yep, yeah, psychology turned into a gimmick, absolutely. Capitalism ruined things again, I know, right? Spoiler. Spoiler, happened again. Who would have guessed? But yeah, I think that that's probably a good way to start that process. And I guess just prepare to be kind to yourself and realize that the emotions are going to come and go in waves. I think it's very rare to just like have a breakup and then like have one solid emotion the entire time and then be over it. Like I've had relationship breakups where it was like 3 days of like really intense feelings, then nothing. And I was like, I'm over it now. Like it was like really quick. And I've had other breakups where it took a really long time to get over it, or the feelings weren't really strong to begin with during the breakup, but they lingered for a long time. They weren't very intense, but they were still there for a long time. I've had every different flavor of like breakup feeling. So keep in mind that just there could be fluctuations in terms of like how long you have feelings or how intense they are. Like you might feel okay now, but then feel worse in like 2 weeks. And if you feel that way, it doesn't mean that you're like failing or that fate's intervening or something. It just means that like human emotions are complicated and it's a process, and that's okay. You know, and if you have the ability, and I don't know, I'm assuming from your profile that you are in the UK, so I don't know how the NHS works for stuff like this, but like it's also possible to like have like maybe 1 or 2 meetings, like 1 or 2 like 90-minute sessions with a therapist just to talk about like processing a breakup, and they like specialize in that. And I think that can be really helpful if you have the means to be able to do it for a session or 2. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Let's get on to the next question. Definitely capitalism, baby. Yeah, thanks all. Appreciate the advice. Still holding out hope that it might be on again at some point, but I know it's not healthy to count on that. Yeah. Yeah, I think... I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I feel like if I've been in a relationship with somebody and I'm like on the fence about if I want to be back together with them or not, like getting to see them consciously process and like be able to have happiness in their life besides me actually makes me more likely to want to be with that person again in the future, as opposed to like them clinging on and like not generally just like being desperate. Like the being desperate isn't the problem. Like this isn't a James Charles scenario. It almost can feel manipulative when somebody is that level of emotional and desperate about like, please, I want to be back together. Like I've seen people that really, really, really do not want a breakup to happen, and they will fight it tooth and nail, and for years afterwards, they will text and call and send letters and follow you on social media and have every other way of trying to contact you to try and be back together again. And that's like not healthy. So I'm not saying you do that, but just like giving you the spectrum of experiences here. Like, you know, some people might appreciate like a grand gesture of, I really want to be in this relationship, I'm going to try and woo you back. But I don't think most people want that or expect that, like especially when you're somebody dealing with a lot of your own life stuff of like you're transitioning, you're in med school, you're doing a bunch of stuff. Like your life's probably together enough now to where you're not really making like wanton decisions off the cuff that you don't really understand the repercussions of. Like you've probably thought about it, you know, you're not just doing it to do it. And yeah. Is it your experience that kink changes over time as we change and our needs change? I do know of people where they have really radical changes in their kink over time, where they thought they were like a 100% slave 24/7 only power exchange type person, and then they go all the way over and they discover that they're actually like a top bottom switch. They don't really want to do power exchange at all. Like, yeah, there are people that have really pronounced changes in their kink. I would say the broad strokes of why somebody enjoys BDSM tends to be the same, but the way that it gets manifested maybe changes when they have a new perspective or new experiences or new examples to draw from. Like, I think a lot, well, okay, and I'm talking about people that like have experience. I think when you're brand new to the scene and you like, you maybe think the idea of being a brat sounds cool, or being a little sounds fun, or being a pet sounds fun. Like, you won't really know until you try it. And there's lots of people where they're like from porn maybe, or from like more limited kind of like kinky occasional bedroom experiences. They're gonna go, all right, I'm a masochist, I'm a brat, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. And then they actually get into the kink scene, they watch other people do scenes, they have relationship experiences, and they go, oh, I thought I was a brat, but it turns out that what I really have is insecure attachment issues, and I'm really like a service sub little, and I'm a brat because I was like dealing with like attachment issues or something, or like attachment drama, and now I've resolved that and now I'm over it. Or they get into the scene and they try bratting for a little bit, but they find that they aren't really fulfilled by it, or that they want something so specific from bratting that their partner can't really fulfill it. Like, it's better for it to just be a fantasy because like the kind of scene they want is so particular that their partner can't really actually deliver it. Yeah, I think when you're really new, you won't really know. But like, yeah, if you have more experience, you kind of understand my underlying motivations for kink emotionally and mentally, as opposed to like, I think being a brat sounds fun. I think being a little looks like I like the look of tutus and onesies. Like, once you get past the more superficial aesthetic stuff, where you're kind of just going off of what you think it looks like, and you get more into mentally what you get out of kink, and you have more experiences with that, like, you're probably going to change maybe a little bit and like refine that. I don't think it's going to be radically different, but I think you can refine it. And then the way that that manifests over time can change as you get into more relationships, you get more experience, you get more trust. I would say most people are not, unless they're a fetishist, where it's the only reason they do BDSM is because they have a latex fetish or a shoe fetish or a spanking fetish or something. If you're a fetishist, then it's like, you know, you're an exception here. But most people, I think, when they come to understand their underlying kinks with different people, different relationships over time, it's going to manifest slightly differently. I would say most people don't tend to like necessarily completely get rid of who they were at the beginning of their kink journey or what they originally did. Like, you know, again, pet play, little bratting, it tends to be part of their kink identity, but it tends to expand more and include more things besides just the original thing. So does that make sense? Not like a radical change. I also think a lot of people get more open over time to like being switches. I think a lot of people get in the scene and think if they don't choose right away, that it's gonna seem like they don't really know what they want. And as a new person, it can seem like it's a better option to be like, no, I am this. I know I am this. Take me seriously. As opposed to being a new person who's also a switch. There's this fear that comes across as non-committal. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you want. And so the reason you're a switch is because you don't really know anything about anything and you have no idea what you want to be or what you want to do. So when you get more experience, and also like there's stereotypes in terms of like gender and like all of that. Like if you're a 23-year-old, if you're 23 years old and getting into the scene as a woman, you're probably going to have maybe certain expectations from the internet about like what your submission looks like or what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to be a submissive, of course. And a lot of people discover with the power, I know, it was so loud we woke up the baby. It's so loud we woke up the baby. My goodness, so rude. You gonna go back to sleep, little girl? I know, it's very hot, isn't it? So hot. So spicy. Spicy weather. I hate that. I hate it when people call everything spicy. But I'm saying it ironically, so it's fine. And we flopped over again. Yeah, so I think that it can change over time, but like not drastically. I guess is the TLDR. I realize I'm probably not into being a mommy dom, at least not with cishet men. Yeah. Thank you for your awesome answer. It helps a lot. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's so real. I was more attracted to the aesthetic side first, but then over time I developed a deep love and connection to the dynamic and practice. Yeah. And like sometimes you get into something originally because of the aesthetic. you get into it and then you also like the deeper parts of the same thing. So it's not just you get into the aesthetics and you find it's not for you underneath the aesthetics. It's also like the aesthetics and the underlying part also works too. Yeah, absolutely. Being very new myself, I'm not entirely sure what I am into myself right now, but definitely interested in trying new things. Yeah, and I think as long as you're like, this is the one thing, like if I could, well, outside of safety information, if I could communicate like one thing to new people that are exploring the scene, I would really want to emphasize that you genuinely do not have to pick a label and do not have to stick to a label either when you are getting into kink. Because again, there's that pressure to like just pick one and have that signal that you know for sure what you want and that you're not going to get like talked into. And like in some circumstances, like especially if you think your identity is maybe something a little bit like atypical, you might feel like you have to stick to that really hard to not have somebody tell you that like this other thing that's maybe more like stereotypical, right? Like if you're a tall goth lady in the scene, a lot of people are probably going to tell you you're a female dominant, you're a dominatrix, you need to make an OnlyFans account. You're going to be like, fuck you, I'm not that, I'm a submissive, I like pacifiers. And like, it might make you less likely to be open to that. Oh, thank you, Nelson. I appreciate your super chat and a little sticker. Thank you. But I'm trying to think of what I was about to say. I completely lost my train of thought there for a second. Oh, yeah. Like, for new people. Like, the one thing I would want to communicate to new people, outside of, like, the importance of, like, the emotional connection and that aspect of kink not being forgotten about, is, like, initially, don't feel pressure to pick a label. Don't feel pressure to stick to exactly one thing. Most people that do kink are not just one thing. Like, when you go to most people's FetLife profiles, it's not just, like, daddy and nothing else. It's usually, like, daddy, dom, sadist, masochist even maybe, toy, caretaker. You know, there could be a lot of other labels in addition to just that one thing. So just be aware of, like, being open. I think being open is the best way to go about it. And I think one of the ways to set yourself up for failure in kink is holding on to that initial identity so tightly. Like, I'm only little, I can only ever be a little. Like, especially with, like, littles in pet play. And, like, I think it's really those two especially, but probably other things too. And if you guys have experiences with other labels doing this, let me know. But I think certain labels, it feels like you have to only be that thing and nothing else. And if you have any hints of being anything else, right? Like if you're a little and you're also a service sub who's into bondage and a bratty masochist, like some people will interpret that, oh, thank you, AC window unit fun. I could have one. The issue is my window opens like this and not like this, and I would prefer to have one that opens like this because I've had some advertised to me on social media of like really efficient quiet AC units that you can put in a window that opens this way but not this way. But I honestly I should look into it. Absolutely. It would be a good idea. But yeah, just like don't hold on to your identity super tightly. I think, like, if you think about it, if you have to hold on to your identity that tightly where you tell yourself, if you're telling yourself, I'm a little, so I can't blank, littles don't like this, what real littles would never, whatever, if you're telling yourself that over and over again to keep yourself from doing something you want to do, is it really worth it to hold on that tightly to that identity? Does that identity really match you? What's so important to you about holding on to that one identity label? Why can't you be that thing and something else? And if it's just because somebody else on social media or a person you're dating is telling you, well, real littles only ever blah, 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 like, that's not true, actually. Actually, not a fact. You can be many, many things in the kink scene simultaneously, and you do not have to just pick one label. So I think the real test is like if you have to hold on to something super tightly, in order for it to be the thing that you are, it's probably not really the thing that you are. You probably could be that thing and something else. But if you can have your hands and eyes wide open to the possibilities and experiences you could have within your limits and preferences, obviously, and you're still that thing and you still go back to picking that one thing over and over again, it probably means you are that thing. So, like, you know, just open yourself up to the possibilities. I identify as a switch, so I don't really have this identity issue with holding on. People kind of expect me to swap interests, though. I mean, that's good. I think a lot of scenes, especially if the people in it tend to be a little bit older, are like, they know what switches are. They're not against switches, but they tend to see somebody as primarily one thing. Like, oh yeah, you switch, but you're like the bondage person or the wax play person or the food play person. Like, you get kind of cast as being like one thing in one role if you do it a lot in public, especially. But yeah. I'm a little, and I'm also a service submasochist. It's been an odd journey, but way worth it. Letting go of labels and allowing myself to explore other sides of me has been awesome. Yay! Love it. Perfect, ideal, exactly the point of what I was saying. Oh shoot, I know I had somebody who asked me about audiobooks. I'm gonna look real quickly and see if I don't even remember what they wanted to know. Like, I think it was bondage. They wanted to be a rope bunny, and they were like, oh, audiobooks. I'm trying to see if there's like this, I don't know if they have an audiobook version of it, because they don't generally get made into audiobooks because they tend to be pretty visual, but there's a couple that might be. Good Lord, do not search for rope bondage on Amazon unless you want to be truly assaulted with all kinds of terrible, cheap, Lord knows what. Oh, there's also another one too. Let me see. Let me see if any of these have audiobooks. There's one that's called The Ultimate Guide to Bondage, Creating Intimacy Through the Art of Restraint by Mistress Couple. That one has a Kindle version and a paperback, but not an audiobook that I can tell. And then, okay, there's another one that's by Evie Vane, so not me, different Evie. Better Bondage for Everybody, with rope bondage experts from around the world. And then that one also is a Kindle and a paperback only. Let's see, they don't have an audiobook version. And then last one also is, again, a paperback or Kindle. Because most of these are self-published, so... Or they're published by, like, you know, a really small, was it like a boutique press, I think is maybe the phrase for it. Ooh, that's a good looking book. No, fuck, now I'm just gonna look at books. Oh no, what am I doing? Relationships, Responsibility and Regulation, Trauma Invested Practices for Fostering Resilient Learners. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is for, why is this book being recommended to me? Is it because it has the word relationship in it? This is for, like, school teachers. Okay, I don't know why. Amazon's very confused about my book preferences. So sadly, don't have any audiobooks I can recommend to you, because none of these are really made by people that make enough money from these books to also invest in somebody to read an audiobook for them. Dang. Well, okay. I was hoping I'd find something, but didn't in the end. Gosh darn it. Sometimes the labels others put on us are way harder to shake off than the ones we put on ourselves. That's very true. Yeah, once you get stereotyped in a community as like, oh, you're the person who does this, like it's so hard for people to not see. It was that, like I had that problem for a long time in one of the scenes I was a part of with a partner previously, where like I was always at every event with them and everyone saw me as like, oh, you're so-and-so's partner, and like I was perceived in a very particular way because of that was different than who I actually was. And like it was like, it got distressing, like, even within the friend groups I had in those spaces, like, I just, like, everyone else was getting invited to play with other people and do pickup play, but they weren't approaching me because they assumed I didn't want it because I was asexual and dating this one person, and, like, as though I wasn't poly, and, like, it was silly, but, you know, like, it's, you know, I was never really able to find a way to get rid of that entirely, but it sucks. Yeah, Amazon recommendations are a little wild. Audible is pretty good for kink education. Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's audiobooks on Audible that are kink related, but for bondage, which is what this person wanted to know about from my memory of it, I didn't see any options. Like, most of the bondage books are like, here's how to tie knots on people. Here's how to do this thing. And it's like, okay. Sure. Actually, I should order some new books for the summertime to read outside. Oh Lord, there's something called tantric dating. Oh, nah, I'm just tantric dating and tantric related massage for couples. Oh God, I'm in. Never mind. Abort mission. Abort mission. I should look for some new books to read though. Oh yeah, I don't know if you covered it because I had to get off for a bit, but earlier you mentioned YouTube and issues with going on. I will, because we don't have a ton of time left, so I'll take like 5 minutes and explain this for people who don't know, because I'm like primarily talking about this on Twitter, but it is, are they having like a road rally? It's like, what's happening? I don't know. I swear they have like some illegal drag racing league that happens in this neighborhood. And then there's a leaf blower. Why is there a leaf blower? I don't know. It's 7:30, Bob. Put away the leaf blower. Anyways, we're gonna close the window. Because it's not just that you guys can hear it. It's also that, like, I can hear it. And I, like, if there's that level of road noise and different road noises happening simultaneously, my brain, like, can't handle it and speak at the same time. So YouTube, I have been dealing with, I don't know if they are new guidelines or new enforcement of older guidelines. I think they are probably, if I had to guess, new enforcement for existing guidelines. I have been on YouTube for a very long time. I have been making videos for 5, 6 plus years now, maybe at this point. And what I have always done, more or less, has been, if not monetizable, at least not age restricted. And I've run into an issue now for a couple of videos that are just like any other video I've made, and in fact are more restricted because I'm not swearing anymore, because any swear words at all in the video, anything from seemingly like hell and damn all the way over to like fuck, like any of those words and anything in between, those get automatic demonetized. It doesn't, like, context isn't, like, I don't care, 1 time, 10 times, any demonetized. And so I'm not swearing anymore in videos, really, and I'm just, like, not swearing. Like, not just, like, muted or bleeped or anything, just, like, not swearing, because even muting it or bleeping it still counts as being demonetizable. So I'm already censoring myself a little bit in that regard compared to what I used to do. I'm definitely reining in a lot of my language. Like, I'm not being as explicit about sex or sex acts in terms of, like, saying what it is, and I will avoid saying sex in favor of intimacy or like spending time together. Like, I'll say other phrases instead to kind of get to maybe what I mean without saying it directly. And even doing all of that, I have had videos now where even though they're the same video I've been making for years, they are getting not just only age restricted, or not just demonetized, but age restricted as well, which don't care about on the surface of things in terms of like, yeah, I mean, like, you know, a 14-year-old doesn't necessarily need my videos on their homepage. Like, I don't care about like the actual literal age restriction itself as a policy or being demonetized itself. It's the fact that that has a lot of larger repercussions for the video's performance and my channel, because when you get something that is age restricted as opposed to even just demonetized, like it doesn't get recommended, it gets hidden in search results, they don't like let you use a thumbnail for it, like, and also because it's happening more frequently, I'm worried that we're getting to a point now where like my content is on this edge of where like the line between demonetized and age restricted is very close to just like community guidelines violation. And I'm worried that we're getting to a point now where maybe in a couple of years or maybe even sooner, it's going to be not okay to make the kind of content that I currently make on YouTube, even though I don't show anything, I'm not explicit, nobody's naked, it's very educational, it's not like salacious stories from my boudoir, like it's, I keep, you know, there are YouTube videos from like video essayists talking about video games that contain more sexually explicit visual content than what I show in the vast majority of my videos. Like, this is why I don't do demos. This is why I don't have like cutesy kink related background stuff, is because when you have a very fine-toothed comb and you're going through the exact, like, there's sort of like what you guys would see on the front face of like YouTube guidelines around nudity, and like my content doesn't violate that. But when you actually get into having a video on the back end and what they choose to monetize or not, their actual details of how they implement certain rules in the broad strokes is like, you can't give tips, or like it is demonetizable if you give, and age restrictable if you give tips, or if you talk about tips or experiences in relation to sexual fetishes. You cannot do guides, you cannot give guidelines or walkthroughs or how-tos for fetish content. You cannot, and like fetish content is being interpreted as like kink and BDSM, not just like anything sexually gratifying. Like, it's very strange. Like, I'm like, BDSM and fetish are not synonymous, but to YouTube, I guess they are. Like, it's very strange. Like, you can't give sex tips. You can't like talk about sex tips. You cannot be explicit or graphic. And some things make sense. Like, the rules are very wibby wobbly, and they kind of like, some of them I think are reasonable. Like, yeah, like if you're advertising one thing in the video description and the thumbnail and the title, and then the actual video content is sexual, but it's marketed as not being that way, like that, yeah, it's a problem. But if you are, which actually I think that should just probably be against the rules and like be a guideline strike if you're purposely misleading people into watching like not safe for work content with misleading stuff. But yeah. Yeah, and then you can't like use the app, right? Like if you're using the YouTube app, like age-restricted videos, you have to be logged in, you have to have an account. Like it makes it so like tens of thousands of less people see a video. It's really shitty. Like, that's what I care about. Like, I want my channel to be able to be preserved. I want to be able to keep making YouTube videos. And like, I don't know how possible it's going to be if I like, in the video that I got that got age restricted, it was like the most, I didn't even talk about sex in that video. I think I talked about blood maybe for a little bit, like how some people do this play to like draw blood, but like that doesn't have anything to do with sex. And it was under like I got specifically dinged for violating their sex and nudity policy. I'm like, there's no nudity, there's no photos, no demonstrations, no crass language, no references to like body parts or coming or orgasms. I don't say any swear words. I don't like, there's no demonstrations even on like a banana or an eggplant, no emojis, no hidden language or like wink wink not judge, no like sexy ASMR voice, no, like there's nothing that I think they could actually have a problem with. And it's not even like, again, it's not like sexual fetish content, it's not like graphic descriptions or graphic tips and experiences around sex. It's just literally talking, because I don't want to spoil the plot of the video or like what it's about, but it's like about a particular area of kink play. Like, you guys have seen me doing videos 100 times before, and now suddenly it's not okay. Yeah. But I don't really, like, I don't know. I'm just, like, worried that I'm not going to be able to make YouTube content in the way that I've been making it. I don't really know. Like, I don't think it's going to be an immediate problem, but, like, down the pipeline. Yeah. The fact that it is retroactive for the profanity is insane. Like, last night on stream, we watched the music video for Shoes. You guys know the viral video Shoes from like 10 years ago? Or more than that, because it was in middle school. So. Fucking 15 years ago? Jesus, was it that long ago? I guess so. I was probably 13 when it came out, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like, in that video, which has 7 million views or something, which is even, like, I think a more recently uploaded version from the original. Like, they swear in that video all the time, and old YouTube was full of swear words, and it got really popular, and it was fine, and now suddenly, like, the whole nature of the website's changing, and it just sucks. And I had a video, like the video I put out a couple days ago, the most recent one, that one also got fully demonetized. And I was like, well, why? Because it was monetized before it went live. Like, I upload my videos a couple weeks in advance to make sure that I'm not going to have any monetization or age restriction problems for this exact reason. And I had a video that went live a couple days ago that was a green $, good to go, had not have any problems. And then as soon as it went live, it got dinged. And I was like, what the heck? And I appealed it, and they upheld it. And then they read it again when I asked them on Twitter. And they were like, no, sorry. We cannot. Like, and for both times, they were like, hey, even if you re-edit this, our decision still stands. And I was like, how can you not tell me what is wrong, or tell me which word I said was wrong, or what thing I was talking about that was wrong, and then tell me that if I re-edit it, you'll just stand by your original decision to demonetize it and or age gate it? Like, what is a creator supposed to do? They don't even, like, they'll tell us, like, it violates community guidelines, and then you have to guess at what it violates, and then edit it, and then appeal, and then if they stick with it, then they'll tell you what you did wrong in more particular details. But then they'll say, oh, well, you can't re-edit it now. And I'm like, just tell me, like, give me a timestamp of, like, what the reviewer flagged, because if a real person is watching this, they should be able to timestamp it and be like, this was the problem, this was the word, or the way you talked about this, or the subject. Like, tell me something. Because, like, a lot of creators, like, YouTube is my job. I want to do things within YouTube's guidelines. I'm not doing this to be salacious or get around the rules or be an asshole about it. Honestly, fuck Apple. Can the government, like, buy Apple? And, like, get them to not be, because, like, the fact the whole world has to bend over to what Apple wants to have in their App Store is, like, is nuts. But it's not even really just Apple, because Apple isn't the reason why Apple says no apps that aren't PG-13. The reason why that's the case is probably because of, like, lobbying groups and stuff, right? And, like, credit card processors. Not actually because of Apple itself and, like, Apple leadership. Yeah, it's like, didn't you make YouTube Kids so you could have a segmented place just for kids content so the rest of us could enjoy the rest, like, the internet? Like, I don't, like, what's the deal? I just want to be told what the rules are. I know so many content creators, like, everyone I know feels the same way, which is, like, it's, you know, rules change. We get it. We're all trying to just live our lives here and have a job. And if you would just tell us what we do wrong specifically so we can fix it for this time it's happening now and then don't do it again in the future, most of us are more than happy to accommodate that. And like in the past, I've just decided to swear in videos, even knowing that if I did it more than a couple of times or within the first couple minutes of video that I would probably get dinged for it. But now that it's any amount of swearing, even muted, even bleeped out at any point in the video at all, and it's automatic demonetization, I'm like very, like, just whatever, you know, okay, no more swearing, I guess. Oh yeah, don't even get me started on the fact that the guidelines specifically say that if you talk about anything related to sex work or you are a sex worker, automatic age restriction demonetization. It could literally be a documentary about like the daily life of a sex worker or somebody who works at a strip club or like, you know, like the Vice documentary kind of stuff. That is age gated, no money, sorry. It's like you can even if you just are a sex worker and making content on YouTube, it is demonetized and age restricted if they know. Like that's how wild it is. It's crazy. I know. What the fuck is going after, like, why would you go after VPNs? Oh, they're also getting rid of ad blockers on YouTube. You can't use, like, YouTube will pop up now if you have an ad blocker running and be like, hey, you can't do this if you have an ad blocker going. And it's like, oh, god damn it. My advice is don't get in an arms race with people who don't want to see internet advertisements because they will find a way. Okay, so Apple does support conservative groups pushing for this politically and financially, so they're definitely complicit. That fucking sucks. Like, why? Like, don't we all, and I've said this before, like, porn makes money. People, like, sex is the first thing that people look for on new media. They're like, how VR headsets make it sexual. AI chatbot, make it into a sex robot for answering OnlyFans messages. Like, sex is such an early part of any new technology, and it's been there since the very beginning with the internet and with computers, that I don't know what their fucking business is deciding that no longer belongs on the internet or on their app or on their devices. Like, sex is the reason why we like have the technology we do right now on the internet for video and photos. Like, if people were not trying to look at titties on the internet because they were just outlawed from the beginning, we would not have the quality of internet experience that we currently do. Not to mention it makes money fucking hand over fist. Like, OnlyFans, any like porn website you can name, it's money all the way down. Now, less money for the mainstream porn websites than it used to be back in the day, but, you know, it's a very, very, very popular website. It's very popular things. And, like, even the other day, Pup Amp and Mr. Christopher, they were talking about how the Mr. S. Leather Facebook page has been taken down. They have lost the Mr. S. Leather Facebook page 4 times. And, like, Instagram, probably more than that. Like, even just, you can't even, like, post a photo of, like, a guy being clad in leather, and then it's like, nope, get rid of it, delete, bye-bye. Like, Jesus Christ. YouTube makes a lot of money on demonetized videos. Part of this just is corporate. Yeah, I know. That's, like, part that, like, I mean, a lot of people don't know about this, but part of how the internet and, like, how YouTube makes money is, like, on demonetized videos, YouTube puts ads on those videos. You just don't see money from it. It's a way to get around their, what is it, 70-30 or 55-45, or yeah, I think it's 55-45 for YouTube, but a lot of apps it's like 70-30 or 60-40. Anyways, whatever it is, whatever the split is, like, they're just taking 100% of the cut and not none of it. Like, I've had videos that are demonetized, and when I go to the number, like, they'll put fucking 12 ads in a 20-minute video. Like, 12 ad spots, not just total ads, but, like, probably 12 ad spots of 3 ads. And it's like, Jesus Christ, YouTube. And I have to go through and, like delete individual things, like, if I can catch it. Because sometimes I will have ads turned on, it'll get demonetized, and then I'll go back again and I'll see they automatically added like 10 ads to a video, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't even control as a creator how many ads you all see. My ability seems to be able to give them a suggestion, but they kind of put in as many as they feel like. Yeah. It's because they view sex as progressive, and their fan base that gives them the most money at one time is against that. They're having their cake and eating it too. Oh, now I want cake. Now I want cake. Can I ask about your shirts? I absolutely love your t-shirts. I love your channel. Your content is so relevant and pertinent. Oh, thank you. Most of my recent new t-shirts, like this one I'm wearing today, is from Mary Wyatt, which is a British alternative made in London brand. Very good stuff. I get a lot of my t-shirts. I mean, honestly, I don't really get my t-shirts from only like one place. I have a lot of them from like kink conventions, and I would say probably my recent shirts have all been like Disturbia and Mary Wyatt are like the two places I tend to buy clothing from that's new. But a lot of my t-shirts are from Cherry Cheesy, which is on Redbubble. I have a couple shirts from them that I wear, or like kink conventions, or I'm trying to think of other like t-shirts I wear pretty often that you guys would like recognize. I think that's probably the main ones. Yeah, they're up to 3 ads in a single ad spot. I've never been more certain that premium is a good choice. Oh yeah, it gets nuts. Like even premium is expensive. It's like $25 a month for YouTube Premium. I pay because I have a family plan, so I can have it on all my YouTube accounts, and I pay for storage, and so it's like $23 a month or something for YouTube Premium. It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. YouTube often puts sex-focused ads on video demonetized for sexual content. Yeah, they're willing to take ads from like Adam and Eve, but they won't give creators money for it. It's nuts. Nuts all the way down. I mean, hey, if you want to fight the YouTube prudes, you can give the live stream a like, give it a little thumbs up. We only have a couple minutes left here. I'm going to try my best to answer one more question, then I'm going to go outside and enjoy the sunset and have some lemonade. I'm seeing 96 likes on my end, so we can get a couple more likes in there. That would be awesome. And thank you for doing it if you do. Okay, and then the breakup thing. Yes, for starting mommies, I recommend mixing praise and soft condescension. I love that. That's perfect. And TP 24/7, but we live apart and he doesn't micromanage, and that makes it more practical. Yeah, like there's definitely more practical ways of doing it for sure. I know, I love it. She's she is stunningly another pup can compare. I mean, she kind of is the best, but it's also like not a competition. Yes, 1 like equal 1 pet for Banditti. Okay, I think I answered. This was the Rope Bunny audiobook thing. Oh, for free education? Shibari Study is my favorite recommendation for a website to go to. I think honestly either or Midori. Either like private training with Midori, or like online like one-on-one stuff with Midori, but that's not free. There are a lot of free videos on Shibari Study and like examples. Yeah, I've been in subscriber mode the entire time. The whole time I've been here. Lots of good podcasts and YouTube videos, but the books and audiobooks are going to cost. Nothing too crazy. It supports the others. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, like all the books I was looking at earlier are like under $10 for the Kindle version. We littles generally get rejected a lot. Being told we're wanted is almost always accepted. It says like accepted, like excluded, but I think they mean like accepted, like wanted. Yeah, so it always works better to build that chemistry first and establish that desire for approval before getting to the humiliation or praise, respectively. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Any tips for a switch with a partner who is mostly a sub? Sorry, this is off topic. No, 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 no. It is completely on topic as much as anything else is. I would say if you were a switch with a partner who's mostly a sub, just as like really quickly here because we're at the end of the live stream, I would say that I would you can pre-plan scenes or like I would have some way you can easily communicate when you're in the mood for being more submissive yourself if you want to take a turn being a submissive. I would say when it comes to two submissive relationships, it's much harder for like if one of them is a switch to also get to sub as much as the other person, because you can't, like, if somebody's only a sub or mostly a sub, like it's harder to get that dom energy. So I would find ways to help your partner, like find either clothing or music or movies or like acts or scents or something that they can do to get them more into a dommy headspace. Have a way for you to be able to communicate when you need that or when you're in the mood for that. That could be like a fridge magnet, it could be a text message, it could be a series of emojis, like it could be whatever you want. And then like find things that like maybe feed both of your sub sides at the same time. Like if you're a service sub or they're a service sub, how can you use that as a way to like have service and have that submission fed while also you still feeling submissive at the same time? That could be things like straight razor shaving or getting a bath or something where there could be a dominant and submissive energy to it, but also a service energy to it. And then probably just being willing to compromise a little bit and just recognizing that like if you're, you know, you have to have those communication lines open and be honest, but you can't make somebody be something they're not more than they want to be. And I'm always very cautious about like advising people about this because I don't want the other partner to feel pressured to do something that they don't want to do just to make their partner happy. But hopefully you can find a middle ground with either maybe certain types of play like service, sensation play, impact play, bondage, where you can get both things met at once. All right, thank you all so much for hanging out and for liking the video. I really appreciate it. Yes, Bondage Tuition is also really good on YouTube. Absolutely. Love his stuff. Good stuff. All right. I'm going to get Banditi if she wants to get up here for a second. Oh. Mandalina. Uh-oh. Hit the microphone. Oh, gosh. Hi, honey. Do you want to come say hello? You want to say goodbye to the people? Come here. Come here. Good girl. Yes. Get that stretching. Go for it. There you go. Good girl. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're sitting. Oh, no, we're laying down again. Oh, we're rolling over. Okay. I know we're rolling over. We're rolling over. I know. Okay. Come on. Come on. Come on. Boop, 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 boop. Hello, pretty princess girl. All right, Banditi says goodbye. She says goodbye. Thank you for watching and being on the stream. She appreciates it. Thank you for hanging out. We do this every Friday at 6 o'clock. Thank you all so much for being here. Go ahead and subscribe. Well, you have to be subscribed if you're in the chat. But if you're watching, go ahead and subscribe. Turn notifications if you want to make sure to catch me next time I go live. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Wear your sunscreen.